In this episode of Velocity Labs, we're putting a custom steering wheel in my 1972 Volkswagen Beetle. The stock steering wheel on my Bug is just a little bit too big for my taste, so we're going to swap it out with a spare wheel that I have lying around. In the early 70s, they added a plastic steering wheel and a plastic dash, presumably for safety reasons and to give the car a visual update and make it seem more modern. I think they just kind of made it look cheap though, to be honest, so I'm going to get rid of both, starting with the steering wheel. Just pop the center cover off and disconnect the wire for the horn. We're going to need a 27mm socket to take the nut off. I grabbed one from Harbor Freight for $5. Take off the nut, use a magnet to grab the washer, and then just slide the steering wheel off. Mine came off pretty easily, but you may need to use a bit of force or a large hammer to knock it loose. Now let's grab a replacement wheel and bolt it up to the Bug. To do this, we're going to need a Grant steering wheel adapter. I picked this one up on eBay for $25. I also picked up a Momo to Grant adapter so I can run a 6-bolt Momo style aftermarket wheel as well. So here's the plan. I picked up a spare DSM steering wheel at the junkyard a couple months ago, so I'm going to try and make it fit. If we can't make that work, we'll go right to an aftermarket Momo style. The first adapter is the Grant adapter, which is needed to fit any steering wheel other than an OEM Volkswagen. Hopefully we can get the DSM wheel to fit with this. If not, we have the Momo to Grant style adapter as a backup. So if we look at the back of the steering wheel, we either have to make it fit with the 3-bolt Grant adapter or the 6-bolt Momo adapter. The first thing that we need to do is take it apart, which is just a few screws. And it looks like we're in luck. The metal center plate looks to be about the perfect size to fit the Grant steering wheel adapter. The issue is this large nub that's going to prevent it from sitting flush. But that's a problem that can easily be solved with violence. And to commit that violence, we're gonna need to break out the grinder. Alright, so we got the back of the steering wheel ground down nice and smooth. We should be able to take this Grant adapter, bolt it right to the back of this plate, and then bolt the steering wheel onto the Bug. But before we do that, a quick test fit is in order. We need to make sure that the steering wheel can sit over the stud. And it can't. We're going to need to make the center hole a little bit bigger. So a quick follow-up session with the grinder is on the menu. Test fit it again, and it looks perfect. We'll do that one more time with the adapter and the nut, and it looks like it's sitting perfectly. Now all we gotta do is just figure out where we want to drill the holes for the adapter. Now, the Grant steering wheel adapter has the top location marked, but that puts the holes right over a couple weld points. So we're gonna turn it to make the bolt locations more ideal for this particular setup. First we mark out the 3 main bolts, then we mark the center, turn the pattern to best suit our needs, and then we can start drilling. Once we drill out the holes and add the bolts that came with the adapter, then we can check the fitment on the back plastic cover. It's not quite sitting flush, so we're gonna need to make a couple modifications to it. The first thing that we need to do is remove one of the screw supports that is in our way. Then we need to make a few grinds on the horn cover bracket to make sure that it fits around the bolts. I also picked up some shorter bolts from the hardware store just to make sure that it's gonna fit this custom setup. Next we need to remove the horn ring and the wire from the old Bug steering wheel. There's just a few screws holding it on, and then we separate it from the wheel. Also, we need to trim the back plastic cover a little bit more. A utility knife makes quick work of the excess plastic that's in our way. The Grant kit comes with some new screws that allow the stock VW horn to bolt right up to the Grant adapter. Now all we gotta do is just bolt the horn bracket back on and splice in the right connector from the talon wheel. We steal that connector, solder it to the Bug wire, seal it up, and then do another quick test. The connection looks good, so let's bolt it back up and double check the fitment again. And oops, there's the little problem here. The outer plastic is rubbing on the wiper blade lever. There's really no adjustment there, and there's not enough plastic on the steering wheel to cut it without making the structure fall apart. So a quick hit with the grinder is back on the menu. Clean it up with a little paint and no one is ever gonna know. I knew those instructions I used as masking paper were good for something. Bolt it back on, test the horn, and we're done. It works! So that's it. Popping in a new steering wheel is a piece of cake. This is just a temporary replacement because it fits me better, but we're gonna be putting in a sportier wheel again in the future. I gotta say though, this Talon steering wheel actually matches the stock interior pretty well. It almost looks like it belongs there. Like, share, and subscribe, and if you have any questions, post them up in the comments.